Hey Keto peeps! Today's episode of All Day I Dream About Food is brought to you by the words easy and elegant. With the craziness of the approaching holidays, you want a dessert recipe that's simple to make, but looks and tastes like you worked hard on it. In other words, easy and elegant. And today we're going to make my Flourless Keto Chocolate Cake. This single layer keto chocolate cake is rich and fudgy and totally dairy-free. Although you dairy lovers, you can make it with dairy too if you like. Speaking of the holiday insanity, we all know it's important to take care of ourselves during the holidays too. And that means staying hydrated. Now I'm really good at staying hydrated in the summer, but during the cooler months I tend to forget, which is why I like to keep Element in my water bottle at all times. Because it's not just about drinking water, it's about getting the right balance of electrolytes. An Element has a science-backed ratio of sodium, potassium, and magnesium, all of which your body needs to function properly. And it has no sugars, no colors, no artificial anything, which means you know you're getting pure hydration. But Element also tastes great, which means you'll actually enjoy drinking it. Sometimes I like to mix it with sparkling water for a little bit of a mocktail. Be careful, it fizzes like crazy when it hits that water. Right now, Element is offering my viewers a free sample pack with any order. That's 8 single-serving packets free with any Element order. This is a great way to try all 8 flavors or share Element with a salty friend. Get yours at drinkelement.com/dreamaboutfood. This deal is only available through my link. You must go to drinklmnt.com/dreamaboutfood. Our first step is to prepare our pan. I have an 8-inch round cake pan here, and I'm just gonna grease it lightly. I'm using some avocado oil spray. So grease the bottom and the sides, and then you wanna line it with parchment paper, or my daughter last Christmas bought me these reusable silicone rounds for the bottom of cake pans. So I'm gonna use that today. And I'm gonna grease that too, just to make sure everything comes off nicely. Now we wanna melt our chocolate. Whenever you're melting chocolate, particularly unsweetened chocolate, you want to set up a double boiler. That means putting a heat-proof bowl above a pan of barely simmering water. And you want a relatively large bowl for this because this is where you're going to do all of the cake batter. So we're going to take 4 ounces of unsweetened chocolate, nicely chopped, and a 1/3 cup of coconut oil. And you're going to set these in your pan above the warm water so that they melt slowly. You're gonna stir very frequently. Once your chocolate and coconut oil is nice and melted, you're gonna remove it from the heat, but you're gonna keep it over the warm water in the pan. Now we'll add some sweetener. I have 3/4 cup of granular swerve here, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 1 teaspoon of espresso powder. This is optional, but coffee enhances the chocolate flavor. It won't taste like coffee. And stir all that in until well combined. We're also gonna whisk in about 1/4 teaspoon of salt because that brings out the sweet flavor. Now we're going to add 3 large room temperature eggs. Be forewarned that the chocolate mixture will thicken considerably when you add the eggs. So right after you add them, you're also going to add a 1/4 cup of coconut cream. So just put them all in together. And don't worry, the mixture's not hot enough at this point to cook your eggs. Ooh, that was inelegantly done, so much for elegant. Okay, break these up, whisk them in, and expect to see some thickening here. It'll get very gloppy. And you can see it's becoming almost like fudge. It doesn't really look that great, so quickly add in some coconut cream and just keep stirring until it smooths out again. Now we're going to add 1/2 cup of cocoa powder. I recommend Dutch process because it blends more easily into batters like this one. And you'll stir that in until it's well combined and there are no lumps. Okay guys, I switched to a whisk and it's stirring up much better and getting smoother. This is a lesson in using the right equipment for the job. Ooh, that's looking so good. Look at this, you guys. Now it looks like chocolate fudge or chocolate ganache. Doesn't that look fabulous? Now we can spread it in our pan. And once you've poured it all in, just spread it evenly all over. And I always like to give my pan a little shake to really even things out. And the flourless chocolate cake goes in the oven at 350 for 15 to 20 minutes. You're looking for the edges to be set, but the center should be just barely firm to the touch. You really don't want to overbake this one. Okay guys, I have taken our flourless chocolate cake out of the oven. You can see here, it didn't rise very much. It's not supposed to. This way, it'll be dense and fudgy and delicious. When it's in the oven and you're waiting for it to bake, you may see it rise slightly alarmingly on the sides. Mine certainly did. But then when you take it out and you let it cool, it will fall and flatten again. And we're ready to put it on a cake plate. So, put my cake plate on top, flip it over. Ooh, I heard it come out. Good. And there we go. And now the bottom of your cake becomes the top. I will admit, at this point, it's not the most impressive looking cake. That's why we're gonna jazz it up a bit with some glaze. The glaze for this cake is essentially a dairy-free ganache. So we're gonna take 1/3 cup of coconut cream and put it in a small saucepan, and we're gonna set it over medium-low heat. And we're gonna get it just to a simmer. And once you've got it simmering nicely, you want to remove it from heat and quickly add 1.5 ounces of chopped unsweetened chocolate. You're going to let it sit there and melt for about 5 minutes. Once the chocolate is nice and soft and melty, you're going to add in 3 tablespoons of powdered sweetener, and I have powdered Swerve, and 1 tablespoon of allulose. I like to put this in because it keeps the glaze more shiny and soft. If you don't have it, you can just use another tablespoon of Swerve and 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And this time I'm going to grab my whisk from the beginning because it's the right tool, and I'm going to whisk everything until smooth. And at first you'll notice it's quite thin, but if you let it sit for a few minutes, it will thicken up nicely, and then you can pour it on the cake. And your glaze should be thin enough to pour, but thick enough to stick to the top of the cake. And when you get to that point, you just want to pour it over. Then you just want to take an offset spatula and spread the glaze all over the top, and you can let it drip down the sides a little if you like. I like to keep most of it to the top and then maybe just get a few places where it drips off. Doesn't that look great? A little bit of drips, but a nice smooth topping on top. Now we need to get this into the fridge for about 20 minutes to allow the chocolate glaze to set. And while your cake is setting in the fridge, you get to enjoy the licks from the pan. I was very patient and I waited 20 minutes, and now we can dig in. What I like to do when I'm cutting a cake like this is warm up my knife. So normally, I just do it right over the gas flame of my stove. You can also run hot boiling water over it. This will allow me to slice through the cold cake and the cold glaze a little more easily. Oh, that looks so good. We'll just use the knife and, oh, see, I know, it's small, it's little, but it's like a slice of fudge on your plate. Seriously, you don't need a big piece of this. It is very rich. And to top it off, I recommend just a few fresh berries. Now let's take a bite. It really is like fudge. I mean, it's not like cake. It's not light and fluffy. It is fudgy and delicious. It's amazing. And I hope you give it a try. I need another bite. So good. For this easy, elegant, and oh so chocolatey dessert, please check out alldayidreamaboutfood.com.